Do you think Mrs. Parker Bowles had anything to do with the end of your marriage? There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it got a little crowded. The shocking story of Prince Charles and Princess Diana's marriage ends with their split and the death of the beautiful princess. But do you know the whole story of the wedding that was once called the wedding of the century? What began as a fairy tale became a public nightmare that scared a lot of people. There were many extramarital affairs and great sadness in their relationship. What really took place when the couple wasn't around? What or who broke up their marriage? Come with us as we look into the sad story of the world's most amazing marriage. Diana Spencer and Charles Mountbatten Windsor meeting. The story of how Charles and Diana met for the first time is very strange, as the prince told the Telegraph in an interview with Diana in 1981. In particular, they met in a field that had been plowed in 1977. He remembered meeting Diana, who was happy, beautiful, and full of life, but for 2 reasons their first meeting was very different from the rest. Diana met Charles for the first time when she was 16 years old. Charles was 29 years old at the time. Their huge age gap should have been the first sign that something was wrong, but it wasn't taken into account. Second, Prince Charles was already seeing Diana's older sister Sarah when they met. With all of these problems, how did Charles become closer to the woman who would become his wife? She caught his eye right away, which is interesting. Some people even say it was fate that Charles started talking to Diana right away at the party and asked her to show him the gallery at her house. Diana later remembered this moment with love. His real chance to meet Diana was through a shooting party that his girlfriend at the time, Sarah, put together. Diana and Charles were never going to fall in love until Sarah told everyone how she really felt about Charles. We thought that after that meeting things would go in a straight line between Diana and Charles, but they didn't. He and Sarah Spencer are said to have gone to the clusters for a couple ski weekend. A picture taken by the paparazzi showed the 2 of them skiing together in the cold snow. In her 2016 book about Princess Diana, Sarah Bradford says that Sarah told a magazine that she wasn't in love with him and didn't want to marry him. So, they broke up because of this. Sarah married Neil McCorkadell, a farmer who used to be an officer in the Coldstream Guards in Great Brington, Northamptonshire on May 17, 1980. Sarah decided to marry the person she loved. Instead of a big wedding, Lady Sarah and her husband picked a small one at the Spencer family's ancestral seat, the small St. Mary's Church at Althorpe. They then had a banquet at the family estate. Lady Sarah looked beautiful on her wedding day in a high-necked lace dress, the famous Spencer family tiara, and a traditional white flower bouquet. Gerard's made the Spencer tiara, which has a complicated design with styled flowers that are adorned with diamonds set in silver settings. Now that Diana and Charles knew what Sarah thought, they were free to start their own romance. At Prince Charles' 30th birthday party, the pair got back together. They missed each other for 2 years, though. They met again at the house of her friend Philip, where Prince Charles was also present. When the royal family found out that Charles' uncle, Lord Mountbatten, had died, what had been a casual meeting turned into a sad one. In her book Diana, she wrote about how she felt moved to comfort Charles after seeing him at his uncle's funeral, upset and open. The princess was sitting on a bale of hay next to Charles. After the usual small talk, they talked about Earl Mountbatten's death and the service that would be held at Westminster Abbey. Diana told him, in a talk she later told her friends, that seeing him walk up the aisle at Lord Mountbatten's funeral was the saddest thing she had ever seen. As she watched, her heart broke for him. After she said something nice, Charles liked it, and soon after he was all over her. She remembered that she was shocked at first, because she had never been seriously interested in a guy before, but she quickly got used to it, and the 2 began dating. It was a sweet relationship. Prince Charles taught Diana how to fish and even asked her to the royal family's home at Balmoral. At that point, the relationship looked perfect, and there was no sign that something bad was about to happen. The couple's engagement was revealed after a chance meeting and a romance that was getting more attention. It wasn't a surprise when, after only 6 months of dating, they told the Lord Chancellor on February 24, 1981, that they were getting married. Diana was very happy, as shown by the fact that she and Prince Charles went to Buckingham Palace together with the BBC. Diana said that her husband was really cool. The years I spent at West Heath were truly wonderful. Charles also told Diana how happy he was that she was ready to marry him. At a secret dinner at Buckingham Palace, Charles told the guests that he had asked Diana to marry him 3 weeks before the news came out. He said he wanted Diana to have time to think about what to say while she was going to Australia. She said yes right away, though, and moved out of her Kensington apartment to stay at Clarence House until the big day. When everyone saw her unique style and unique engagement ring for the first time, Diana, who was wearing a deep blue skirt suit, showed off her beautiful engagement ring to everyone. The ring's maker, Gerard, says that the unique shape of the ring was inspired by a pin that Prince Albert had made for Queen Victoria in 1840. The 18-karat white gold pin had a big sapphire in the middle and 12 round diamonds around the edges. People were shocked when Diana wore the ring that was based on Prince Albert's. But that wasn't the only shocking thing that happened during the awkward interview with the couple. They were asked if they were in love, and Charles said his famous thing about what love means. Diana confirmed her feelings with a "of course," but Charles replied with "whatever love means" and a tense look at the ground. This was the first sign of trouble in her marriage, but things would quickly get much worse. In an interview with Andrew Gardner and Angela Rippon CB, Prince Charles and his soon-to-be wife, Lady Diana Spencer, talked about how people felt about their wedding. A lot of men had been coming to their home. Diana was very grateful for the gifts that kids had worked hard to send her. The wedding of the century before the wedding, Diana had second thoughts and thought about calling it off. It was just an idea at first. Diana wanted to break up with Charles even more after finding a bracelet he was going to give to his ex-girlfriend Camilla Parker Bowles just days before the wedding. Andrew Morton wrote the famous biography Diana, Her True Story in Her Own Words, which came out in 1992. In it, Morton says that the only reason Diana walked down the aisle is because her sisters told her that everything was already planned and it was too late to back out. They told her not to go through with the wedding, but she did it anyway, not knowing the problems and pain that would come after. By the night before the wedding, she was even more sure of her decisions. The night before, she had a bridal party at Clarence's house with her sisters. Charles then shocked her with a signet ring from Buckingham Palace that had his Prince of Wales feathers on it. He also sent her a note from the heart telling her how proud he was of her and promised to be at the altar the next day. This was enough to calm her worries about their approaching wedding. The next day, on July 29, 1981, at St. Paul's Cathedral in London, Prince Charles and Princess Diana got married in a very fancy wedding. The wedding was watched by 750 million people from 74 different countries. It was the first time in 300 years that a British citizen married an heir to the throne. The fact that the whole thing cost almost $48 million shows how special the wedding was. Princess Diana, who was the star of the show, looked stunning in a white silk taffeta dress that had more than 10,000 micropearls and intricate hand embroidery all over it. She wore the Spencer family tiara, just like her older sisters Lady Sarah and Lady Jane. It was comfortable on her head. In that moment, she told Andrew Morton that she was very lucky, and that she and Prince Charles both felt a strong love for each other. The whole world shared their happiness. According to the New York Times, the couple got about 3,000 gifts between their engagement and their wedding day. This included some very well-known gifts from important wedding guests, such as the engraved Steuben glass bowl the Reagans gave them, the Art Deco clock they got from Cartier, and the diamond and sapphire pendant ring and earrings that the Saudi Arabian Crown Prince Fahd gave Diana. A letter from Prince Charles to his friends said that he felt like crying at times because he was so happy about the whole thing. But despite how it looked, their wedding wasn't perfect. There were some strange mistakes. To begin, Diana decided not to include the word obey in her wedding vows to Charles. Second, they made bad vows during their performance. Diana said Prince Charles' full name wrong. It is Prince Charles Philip Arthur George. Charles, on the other hand, gave Diana his things instead of the usual "my items from this world" on top of these small mistakes. The man forgot to kiss his bride after they said their vows. The two people did, however, kiss in public on the palace balcony, where 600,000 people had gathered from the streets going up to Buckingham Palace. Diana was Princess of Wales, which meant she represented the Queen at events all over the world and did royal tasks with Prince Charles. Because she did so much good in the world, she was head of both Barnardo's and Great Ormond Street Hospital in London. She also gave money and time to a number of groups such as the British Red Cross, Headway, the British Deaf Association, and Help the Aged. People also know the princess for her work clearing land of mines and helping people with AIDS and children with leukemia. The Halo Trust charity cleared a trap while she was in Angola in 1997, which led to one of the most famous pictures of her. William becomes prince. A 12-day trip on the royal yacht Britannia was the start of their 3-month honeymoon. It took them from the Greek islands to Egypt, and for the rest of the time they stayed in a hunting house at Balmoral Castle in Scotland. Strangely enough, no one, not even the couple, paid attention to these early warning signs. Love came in many forms during their first year of marriage. When they got back, Diana and her husband were already at events. Charles and her sat together at the state opening of Parliament, which was the first important public event since their wedding. Not long after they told the world their first big news that Diana was pregnant, everyone was thrilled and expecting a child except Diana. The princess wrote this in a letter to her personal servant, Jane Parsons, in August 1981. Later, she claimed that she had thrown herself down a flight of stairs on purpose while she was pregnant because she felt bad about herself. Lucky for her and the pregnant child, no one was hurt. On June 21, 1992, she and Prince Charles welcomed their son, Prince William, into the world. It's a boy. The first child for the Princess of Wales. He was born in a story that was almost like a fairy tale. This shows how great their marriage was at the time. Everyone didn't agree with Princess Diana's choice to give birth in a maternity ward to the first child to the British throne, but her husband, Prince Charles, stood by her the whole time. Even stranger, he sat next to her bed and watched over her while she gave birth. First, Princess Diana decided to have her first child at the Lindo wing of St. Mary's in London. This was different from what most royals did at the time, who gave birth in the palace. Reports say he was the first royal father to be at the birth of his wife. Diana's nurses had to work out a time for her birth that worked for Prince Charles so that he could be there even when Diana's natural birth got too painful and William had to be forced. Charles was with her the whole time and kept an eye on her. When Prince William was born, Charles was thrilled. In a message to his godmother, Lady Patricia Brabourne, he told her how happy he was. He said that having his son meant more to him than he could have dreamed. Another thing he said was that he was glad he had been by Diana's bedside during the birth. In addition, Charles said that the process made their relationship even stronger. He didn't stop there, though. He kept writing letters to people like Hugh and Emily Van Cutsem, telling them how happy he was to have a child. In 1994, these letters were made public as part of Jonathan Dimbleby's official history of the Prince of Wales. His excitement made his wife very happy, and she was just as happy to have William home. She told him she was thrilled that William was here and thankful that Charles was there to help her give birth. There is a new prince. Because they were born in a fairy tale and Prince Charles didn't act like a typical royal, they became a famous couple. While everyone saw their happy marriage, cracks were beginning to show. When Prince Harry was born, the couple's problems became clear. Prince William was born in September 1984. In September 1986, Charles and Diana found out they were going to have their second child. This was especially good news because Diana had a miscarriage soon after she told her friends she was pregnant with her second child. The experience was so traumatic that she told her friends she wasn't cut out for giving birth. Diana is said to have told her close friend James Coldhurst that Prince Charles was upset by Harry's gender, but Charles didn't feel the same way. It was very disappointing for Charles to learn that Diana was pregnant with a boy again because he really wanted a girl. But getting pregnant with Prince Harry showed that what she said was false. Diana knew that Charles really wanted their second child to be a girl, so she tried to hide the fact that Harry was a boy from the ultrasound, but she couldn't do it for long. Henry Charles Albert David Mountbatten Windsor was born in September 1984. He was a boy. No one helped the labor start, and the baby was born after 9 hours. Diana's second book says that Charles was upset that Harry was a boy. In his first sentence, he said that he didn't like Harry's red hair, something that her family does. Also, Charles was upset that Harry's baptism didn't happen until December. He was said to have told Diana's mother that they thought Harry would be a girl, which showed that there were holes in the story. In 1985, they talked to ITN to clear up reports about their relationship and themselves. Diana answered that it had been hard to get used to being a public figure when journalist Alistair Burnett asked her about it. She said there was nothing she would have changed about her husband, Prince Charles. Prince Charles, on the other hand, gave the impression that all couples fight when asked if he and Diana were fighting. Diana later said that what Charles said in that interview and at Harry's birth devastated her deeply, especially since she and Charles had become closer than ever in the weeks before Harry's birth. As a matter of fact, Diana said that Harry's birth was the reason of their divorce, since the worst happened soon after. Diana was aware that Prince Charles was having an affair with Camilla Parker Bowles, who used to be her lover. Charlotte said in her book that the worst day of her life was when she found out that Charles had gone back to Camilla. Diana addressed her husband's mistress at a birthday party in 1989 because she wanted to keep her marriage together. Diana wrote in her book that what she did with Prince Charles was the hardest thing she had ever done in their 10 years of marriage. Because she wanted to end the affair, she only told Camilla that she knew about it. But that wasn't enough to stop it from getting even hotter. A phone call between the two in 1989 that was leaked made news all over the world, letting everyone know about the affair. An Australian newspaper was the first to print the transcript of their talk. Then a German newspaper did the same. Lastly, by British newspapers, it was even called cheating by the news because Camilla was already married to Andrew Parker Bowles. She met him after Prince Charles left for a 6-month tour with the Royal Navy. So that he could keep his cool, Prince Charles admitted to the affair live on TV. When asked if he was faithful while he was married, Charles first said yes. Then, in his talk with Jonathan Dimbleby, he added that he was faithful until his marriage ended for good. Diana responded to his bold statement on the famous BBC One show Panorama in 1995 by saying that their marriage was too crowded with 3 people already involved, When everyone found out, Camilla and Andrew, her husband, said they were going to get a divorce. Charles was attending an old people's home in London at the time of the announcement, and Diana was in northeast England at the same time. When the Sun published the transcripts of a talk that Princess Diana had with her friend James in early January 1990, everyone was shocked. Diana, Squidgy, and Squidge were called by James. Even though this wasn't as revealing as Charles's behavior, it did make me wonder about their relationship and the chance that having an affair caused them to break up. But things got even more confusing when Diana and Charles were seen together again on May 30th, 1993, not long after they got divorced. They got to the ceremony at the world's biggest Anglican cathedral together on the royal yacht Britannia. Even though they looked happy and like they were going to get back together soon, that was their last public appearance as a couple. At the event honoring the 50th anniversary of the Battle of the Atlantic, the couple was seen together. Diana went on the annual Christmas walk at Sandringham with the whole royal family on December 25th, 1993. That was the next time the two were seen together. Over the next 2 years, they each started doing their own things for fun. Diana went around doing good deeds, like visiting hospitals and taking care of sick kids. She also hired Peter Setlin as a voice teacher to help her improve her public speaking voice. On December 21st, 1995, Buckingham Palace said that Queen Elizabeth II had written to the couple and asked them to get a divorce. At the time, Prince Charles was doing his royal tasks. After giving it some thought, Diana's spokesperson announced on February 29, 1996, that she had decided to divorce Charles. Diana would also keep her title as Princess of Wales. They had already met that day at St. James's Palace to talk about the details of their divorce. On July 15, 1996, after 4 months of talks, the Prince and Princess of Wales divorce was finally granted. The order absolute, which meant that their marriage was officially over, was made public on August 28, 1996. This was the last formal step in the divorce process, and they can't get back together now. The marriage of the century came to an end, and it was sad for both of them. Diana said that her brother-in-law, Sir Robert Fellows, sent her well wishes while she was getting ready for a performance at the English National Ballet. He said it was hard for her to go on with her day. The terms of Diana and Charles' divorce deal were later made public. Princess Diana could have kept her title as Princess of Wales, but she had to give up her title as Royal Highness. Charles was said to have been strongly against the idea, even though the Queen wanted to let her keep her Royal Highness after her divorce. It was agreed that Diana could use the state apartments at St. James's Palace for partying. Diana could also use the royal family's jets in her apartments in Kensington Palace. Additionally, Buckingham Palace told the New York Times that Diana would receive a one-time gift of around $22.5 million in cash. She also got $600,000 to run her private office, which was in charge of her royal tasks and charitable work. However, she would no longer be getting this income after September 1996. She would then have to pay her own bills. Not only could she keep the gold she got when she got married, but she could also use the government and British royal family's planes. The Metropolitan Police's Royalty Protection Group also watched over her all the time, which helped keep her safe when she traveled with her boys. She showed a lot of strength and hope when she said that her divorce was the beginning of a new chapter in her life, even though it was hard. She really meant it. Breakup and death. Princess Diana met heart and lung surgeon Dr. Hasnat Khan in September 1995, not long after she got divorced. The two kept their relationship very quiet for 2 years until reporters found out about it. Even so, their relationship was said to be pretty normal, and Diana even called him Mr. Wonderful to show how much she liked him. But after 2 years, they broke up suddenly, and different people had different ideas about why. It was because he didn't want to be more public with Diana. Yes, he did say nice things about Diana only once in public, and that was in the same year when he called her an ordinary person with some great qualities. Oliver Hoare's death notice said that she had been seeing the married art collector, and the News of the World said that Diana had an affair with Hoare. Diana said she wasn't seeing Hoare romantically and instead called him a friend. The News also linked her to Will Carling, rugby union player, and Theodore J. Fortman is a businessman who works in private equity. However, these claims were still not supported. Diana was dating Dodi Fayed after Khan. He was a film director and the son of Muhammad Al Fayed, a rich businessman. Their link, unlike Khan's, was well known, and cameras followed them around. In the summer of 1977, Fayed brought them to a compound that would not bother the Royal Protection Group. This is where the most famous pictures of them together were taken. Around this time, Muhammad Al Fayed, Fayed's father, bought Jo Nicole, who is now Isabel, Princess of the Sea, a huge yacht to entertain Diana and her boys. Before going to Paris, they sailed around the south of France for the whole summer of 1997 on the Fayed boat. They were having a great summer with Fayed when tragedy struck on August 31st, 1997. The 5 people who died in the Paris Pont d'El Alma tunnel were Princess Diana, Dodi Fayed, their driver Henri Paul, and another person who was with them. His drunkenness was found to be the cause of the accident, since he was going 121 miles per hour while being chased by a group of photographers. This finished the story of the prince and princess very quickly, and there was no longer any chance that they could get back together. By visiting her at Kensington Palace on her 35th birthday without calling ahead, during their friendly conversation, Diana made fun of Charles by saying that he was there to take her furniture away. As they talked, they laughed and drank Earl Grey tea. This was so different from how angry they were toward each other in the later years of their marriage. But after Diana's death, there were no longer any dreams for a better relationship between the two. Diana's death was mourned around the world, and her funeral was seen by people from all over the world. An inquest held in London in 2004, 2007, and 2008 found that the main reasons for the accident were Paul's very careless driving and the pressure from the chasing cameras to go fast into the tunnel. On April 7, 2008, the jury found in favor of killing someone without a permit. Al-Fayed said that he would end his 10-year fight to show that the tragedy was murder the day after the final verdict from the inquest. He said this because he was worried about Diana's children. Prince Charles decided to wear a navy suit to the princess' funeral instead of the traditional black clothes worn by people in mourning. Some people said this choice wasn't appropriate for a funeral, but it had a deeper message. The fact that Prince Charles wore the navy outfit was a small tribute to Princess Diana, his ex-wife, who liked seeing him in navy clothes. It was his way of showing how much he loved her and let her know that he understood what she wanted. With emotion, he remembered the happy times they had together, starting with the wedding of the century and ending with Diana's death and divorce. One of the biggest crimes in history is the story of Prince Charles's secret betrayal. Thank you for watching. Not long left. Don't forget to join our channel and watch one of our other interesting movies.